Okay, hello everybody. It's great to have this conversation through this media, digital communication that we can have now. The purpose of this video is that, well, because we cannot be in front of you in your plants because of this situation that we are living in Mexico and USA and all around the world. Well, we just like to have a conversation with you about cleaners. It's the cleaning process is a very important process in the plants, in the factories, in the metalworking jobs. And well, I am Antonio from NCOC Mexico, and it's good to say hello to Ernie. Ernie Stacy. Hello, Ernie.
How you doing, Antonio?
Fine, fine. Thank you. Ernie is from NCOC Inc., established in Michigan, but he has a lot of years of experience with the cleaning process. So, well, Ernie, let's start with this conversation about the cleaning system. What do you want to share with us now?
Well, as we discussed, one of the first things you need to understand when it comes to cleaning and particularly the operation of process washers and part cleaning is
Yeah.
really the basics. And it may sound rudimentary and it may sound simple, but there's a lot more to it than what might meet the eye. Not only do you have to be concerned about the proper equipment design, but most of all, you have to understand exactly how do you select the proper cleaner and what elements affect, if you will, the impact of those cleaners working properly.
Okay.
And what I thought we'd do is maybe talk about four elements that
Okay.
impact all cleaning operations. No
All right.
matter what type cleaning operation you have, there's four things that they all have in common to ensure you get a good, clean part. Those things are one, concentration,
Okay.
the temperature, the
Okay.
agitation, and
Hmm.
also the time or the dwell time in the washer. No
All right.
matter what the operation is, spray, immersion, Agilift, no matter what it is, they
Yeah.
all require you to monitor and maintain those four factors or those four elements to ensure you get good, clean parts.
All right, I think that could be interesting for the people that is listening to us. Uh, why we don't go step by step? I mean, let's start with the concentration, for example. That's the first one.
Okay, well, obviously, anyone say, well, of course, obvious, you have to maintain a concentration.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised at those who don't. And this is one of the key elements in ensuring that you get good part quality. They're all important, but first of all, it starts with the proper chemical selection. And although we're not going to talk a lot about this maybe until the end, but assuming you have the right cleaner selected, now you need to know exactly at what concentration that cleaner needs to operate
Yeah.
to ensure you get good, clean parts.
Yeah, because
And
for the
go ahead,
people
I'm sorry.
that doesn't have a lot of experience in these cases, we need to be careful if we're going to clean aluminum or if we're going to clean metal or steel. And also it's important to know what we are going to remove from that metals, correct? Because there are a lot of applications.
That's right. You first of all, again, assuming you've done your research, you know what alloys you're cleaning.
Okay.
Like you said, is it aluminum? Is it steel? Stainless? Galvanized? Whatever the turn plate, whatever the alloy is. Once you've determined
Yeah.
the proper alkaline cleaner to use, and I'm going to say alkaline. Sometimes you'll use an acidic based product depending on the operation.
Uh-huh.
But in this case, let's assume that it's an alkaline cleaner. Once you've selected that, then you have to ask yourselves, okay, what concentration do I have to operate
Mm.
at what temperature, with or without the agitation, and how much time do I need to produce a part that is contamination free? So I got to ask myself, what type of contamination is on the part? Uh, how difficult is that going to be? So how much time I need within the washer to properly clean it, given the agitation. And many times, and let's face it, sometimes we don't have much agitation. That's a factor.
Okay.
So I need to know those things.
All
And
right.
once I've determined that, and here's the key, once I've determined that, you need to establish some SPC procedure so that you can maintain that concentration. And if you don't, you're going to be all over the map on your various part conditions coming out. And sometimes the results are going to be dirty parts. The results will be corrosion. There'll be tacky parts, sticky parts, spotty parts, whatever the case. All these things are usually detrimental. And when you ship those out to the customer, you may not necessarily see that until the customer has it, particularly with corrosion. And the worst thing you want to do is have a customer call you up and say, I've got bad parts.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, correct.
So
Right.
we want to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, totally.
And that starts with the proper chemical selection and then the proper concentration.
And the concentration will depend on different factors, but that's why it's very important. Well, in our products, in NCOC products, you can find some ideas of how much concentration we need, but the best thing is always to be assist from one of us, some of us in the plant.
Well, that's right. And what we try to have our salespeople do when they know a customer is going to bring in a new piece of equipment, we try our best to work with that customer and their supplier on the equipment so we can determine what those parameters are before the equipment is finalized.
Yeah,
you know, we want to be proactive up front. We want to do 80% of the work up front, not 80% on the back end of it, trying to correct some design error within the equipment. So that's where we need to determine that. Obviously, for example, cleaning a synthetic coolant off a part is a lot easier, tends to be a lot easier than taking stearate soap off a part.
Yeah, correct.
Those things need to be considered, and the washer design is also very important in making that work with the proper concentration.
Yeah, totally. Okay, what if we go to the second point that you mentioned, that is temperature?
Okay, yeah, temperature. Let me say this, over the past years, many salespeople, particularly chemical salespeople, they come in, they say, I have a washer compound that will work at ambient.
Yeah.
Well, we do too.
Mm-hmm.
We do too. That's a given. But what you have to think about when it comes to cleaner or the temperature is, what am I going to be taking off? How much time do I have? How much dwell time? How much agitation again do I have? Because as those things vary, I may have to adjust that temperature. Not because the cleaner wouldn't clean under normal conditions at an ambient or lower temperature, but because I may need that temperature to properly clean given the other parameters that I have to deal with. Another thing is, and this is very important, particularly when it comes to corrosion protection, is can I get the part clean? And a lot of times we can clean the part at ambient, but given the blow off or the lack of blow off or drying capability of the equipment, I may need that added temperature to help me dry the part. And a clean part is more susceptible to rust. A clean, wet part nested in a gon with other parts is really susceptible to rust. So I need to figure out how important that temperature is. Do I need it clean? Do I need it to help me dry? Do I need it to help me and assist me in the rust protection, particularly with synthetic rust protection? And I need to think about those things. So temperature is very important, and it works hand in hand with the chemical that you've selected. Most alkaline and acidic based cleaning compounds are designed to work with other chemistries like surfactants, and these surfactants have cloud points which activate and work at various temperatures. So I need to know, based on the cleaner I'm using, what that cloud point is, whether or not I'll have a foaming issue or not, and also again whether or not I get the part I desire at the end of the wash.
Yeah, and I like a lot the example that sometimes you mention in front of the customers, that is that we just have to imagine when we are washing dishes, for example. When you wash your dishes with temperature, with hot water, it's easier to remove the grease and things like that. So that's why temperature in the industrial process is also important.
One of the examples, and I've shared with you this in the past with you, that I like to use is working on your car and getting your hands greasy and oily. then go wash them with soap and cold water versus hot water and soap.
Yeah,
Obviously, the hot water and the soap works a lot better.
exactly. Yeah, that's a basic example so everybody can understand why
Yeah.
is temperature.
So
Okay.
temperature is very important.
Yeah. Now let's talk about agitation. What do you have for us?
Okay, well, in the case of a spray washer, obviously you have spray nozzles in the washer. One, they need to be designed in such a way, and again, this is where an NCOC representative could work with the washer manufacturer to select a proper nozzle type, and so on and so forth. But you have to figure within the spray chamber of the washer, how many nozzles do you need? And again, that we'll talk about it later on, the dwell time, but that has to do with dwell time as well. Okay. But once you select the proper nozzles and you have them spaced properly and you have enough of them to achieve your desired goal, and that is to remove the soils using agitation, they spray. This agitation creates an impingement and it helps you remove the various contaminants. That's what you want to do. So agitation is very important. Now, we've all seen washers where either there's limited spray nozzles or they have, maybe they don't have spray nozzles at all. Maybe the risers are just tapped and what you're using is the chemical solution is just being sprayed through the hose in the risers. Well, in that case, you really don't get a lot of impingement. So again, if that's what you have to work with and it can't be corrected, then you got to look at concentration, you got to look at temperature, and again, you got to look at dwell time. See how these things all run together? Yeah. Now, in the case of an immersion system where obviously you usually don't have spray washers, although there are some which are designed with jets in the solution or designed along the tank, the immersion tank that gives you some agitation. You can create a flow by doing that, and that helps in the place of direct impingement. That flow helps to loosen the soils and so on and help to wash them away. So that could be done in a case of an immersion. But many times with immersion washers, they rely either on an agid lift, which will help the same thing, creates a flow around the parts, which helps to release the soils and so on and so forth. But those are things to consider, whether it's a spray washer or an immersion operation. How are you going to achieve some agitation or flow?
And also, do we have to be careful with the foam? I mean, this agitation can create, in some cases, foam.
Yeah, well, when we talked earlier about concentration and the selection of the proper cleaner, obviously, these cleaners are designed, as I said, with cloud point surfactants. A lot of them, not all of them, but most of them are. So you need to consider that. Again, you need to consider your temperature there because it's going to activate at various temperatures. It's going to foam or not foam, particularly related to the temperature. So in the case of agitation, though, if you have the wrong chemical selected, you may get an uncontrolled foam. I want to say this: a lot of times people see a foam on a little foam blanket on top of their solution. That's not necessarily bad. That's not bad. In fact, it could actually help control heat sometimes. But so don't be afraid of foam. What you don't want to do is have the foam guzzling out of the washer and onto the floor. Your floor might be clean, but that's not what you want. So you need to be careful. This goes back to washer design, but I always recommend when they put as a spray washer to make sure they put a throttle on the pump. So you can also throttle your washer back a little bit and control pressure.
All right.
So,
okay, good. And now we have the last point that you mentioned. It's dwell time, correct?
Dwell time, yes. Obviously, if you're going to run a part through a washer, if I run it through too fast, given the mechanics of the washer, again, the concentration, the agitation or lack of agitation, and the temperature, if I go too fast, I just don't have enough time to clean the part. So again, looking at the soils and also it's very important here to really understand your alloy, because if you have the wrong alloy and you spend too much time in the washer, you actually could stain the part or destroy the part in some way. So you want
when you are going to wash your car in these machines, and then it needs sometimes the car Meanwhile, the machine is working, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to go through the car wash at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You want it to slowly go through. And then the same thing with dirty parts. You want enough time that all these four elements can work together to produce a clean part. And obviously that's directly related to the dwell time. Now, again, with the washer design, you can put a barrier in the case of a conveyor belt or a overhead monorail. You can design it in such a way where, depending on what you're taking off, you can improve the dwell time by speeding it up or slowing it down. That's always good, a good thing to have on your washer design.
Yeah.
So then you're not spending any more time in the washer than you have to, and that obviously impacts your production and your your time in and out of the washer. You want to be fast. Everybody wants to produce a part as fast as they can. So by doing that, by putting a conveyor control on your conveyor speeds, that would help you do that based on your soils.
All right. Can you share with us, we are in the last minute of this video, but can you share with us maybe one experience that you have with one of the customers that it was a dirty part and then they didn't have idea how to solve it and how you help them to solve it?
Well, let me give you one where all four of these kind of come together.
Okay.
I received a call from a customer once that the parts weren't coming clean. Now,
Yeah.
this was a customer that I've had for maybe 20 years or more at the time. Same product, no change. We don't adulterize or change our products. And I have the NCOC, our sales reps can have the confidence in that. So when we get a call like this, we know there has to be something else going on in most cases.
Right.
So, but it was important to them, number one, my customer, and it was important to us because they were a customer. So I made some changes and I ran up to the plant and I get there and the first thing I do, thinking of agitation, I want to concentration. First thing I do is check concentration. Well, concentration's okay.
All right.
It's good.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking, okay, temperature, check the temperature. The temperature is just great.
Okay.
Now I think of agitation. So I asked the person operating the equipment. I said, "Can you turn on the pumps?"
Uh-huh.
And he said, "What?" I said, "Can you turn on the pumps?" He said, "You mean the pumps aren't on?" So there's an example where the concentration's good, the temperature's good, but the impingement wasn't very good because they weren't running the pumps. So these things happen. So you have to be a little bit of an investigator at times on these things.
Yeah, but you just have to be careful with the four basics when you are in a washing process, in a cleaning process.
The first thing I did, I started with the four basics.
Exactly.
Because if I'm going to troubleshoot the washer, I need to know what is the concentration, what is the temperature, what is the agitation like. Sometimes it's no more than a lot of times these washers get plugged, the nozzles get plugged up. Yeah, that's another item. That's something else we ought to talk about sometime is a purge procedure. Purging a washer every so often is very important. So sometimes the nozzles are plugged. That's what I was checking for. Was I delivering fluid? Well, in this case, I wasn't delivering the solution because the pumps were off. So obviously I didn't have any impingement. I didn't have anything as far as that goes. But and then of course I would have looked at the dwell time. I would have timed some parts through the washer to make sure the conveyor hadn't been speeded up or whatever.
Yeah. All right.
So that's kind of that's an example that, believe it or not, is more common than you might think.
Yeah, correct. And that's why NCOC is an expert. I can say that we are experts in this kind of issues. We are going to have this kind of videos and conversations. We are pretending to have one per week with different topics. This week was about cleaners, but maybe next week we're going to talk about solubles or bad odors in the solubles and things like that. The most important thing is that our conversations can help you and can assist you to solve some of the issues that you can have in your plants. And of course, you can call us at any time. NCOC Mexico and NCOC Inc. are working as normal, but we are attending all the rules, of course, but we can assist through Zoom sessions or photos or whatever, but we are glad to assist you in your plans and your facilities, just solving and attending these kind of topics. So Ernie, just to say goodbye, please talk about NCOC, why we are experienced and what kind of more products we offer to the market.
Well, NCOC has a complete line of metalworking fluids. We cover all aspects from cleaners, which we're talking about now, and that obviously includes alkaline, acidic base, emulsions for emulsion cleaners and rust inhibitors. We have a full line of rust inhibitors, oil-based, solvent-based, and of course synthetic and water-based. But we cover pretty much the whole gamut: blended oils, drying compounds, even forging compounds now. So, if you have any need, and I would encourage anyone out there who is getting ready to buy equipment, particularly wash equipment, to give us a call, because all of our sales reps are service/sales reps. We really emphasize the importance of looking at an operation, ensuring that we make the right recommendation the first time, and we will work with the customer. And if they permit it, we will work with any machine or equipment manufacturer that they may be working with. So again, the idea, I always say 80% up front, 20% on the backside, dialing everything in, not 20% and then 80% trying to correct it. So we're here to help. We have representation in North America, Mexico, Europe, China, and we'd more than happy to help in any way we can.
Perfect. Okay, Ernie, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for the information that you shared with us. And well, to all the people that is looking to us, thank you. I hope that this can help you, and contact us. You are going to see our phones in the different, in our websites, and also in our different media like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, of course. So it will be a pleasure to attend you. Thank you, Ernie. Take care.
You're welcome.